to the Inside View and Happy New Year to you. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and you've all made our New Year resolutions and we hope we'll stick by them. Well, the gift of teaching allows everyone to be of a true helping profession. After all, the things that we teach our children are the fundamentals that they need them to thrive on as adults. In my eyes, there's no higher calling or noble profession than teaching. And at the end of the day, we all have children. To be able to be a teacher, you should actually love children, and there's no two ways around that. All my heroes have been teachers. And here with me on the Inside View, I have with me a gentleman known as Mr. Ninson, who will share with us his journey into teaching. Hello, Mr. Ninson, and
Hello.
welcome to the Inside View.
Thank you very much. Very privileged to be on your program.
And how was your Christmas?
Very great, lovely. Had a family around. And
Well, let's
that's
cover
all
it.
well.
How was yours?
Very quiet indeed, just like everyone else. And we just managed to share family love and just togetherness, which is what the spirit of Christmas is all about, I believe.
Okay. Well, viewers, Mr. Ninson is the Assistant Director of the Faculty of Maths at Bingley Grammar School and also a Director at the Masterclass Tutorials Limited, a thriving English and Maths tutoring company here in the UK. Well done.
Thank you.
Tell your viewers or tell us about yourself, a little bit about yourself. I mean, your background, where you grew up from, and everything about yourself.
So my full name is Samuel Ninson. I'm born in Nungua, a suburb in Accra, and we moved to Teshim when I was very young, and then that's where I had my primary and my junior secondary education. Like everyone else in that time, we had shifts, so we have the morning shifts and the afternoon shifts. And those times I was really into football and I really didn't like to go to school. So sometimes when I was in the morning shift, I would not be going to school, and people around, the neighbors, would be asking, why haven't you gone to school? And then I would just tell them I'm in the afternoon shift. Afternoon comes and they'll see me around and I'll tell them, oh, I've just come back from my morning shift. So those were the times and the way I grew up. But because of the neighborhood and the kind of competitive nature in the youth at the time, it was meant that you had to prove something. You had to prove that you were a complete person. You could play football. You were also very intelligent. You also went to school and you excelled. And so that kind of motivation, that environment actually spurred me on and inspired me to do well. So I succeeded. I excelled in my BCE exams and I went to Ganata Secondary School. I had my secondary education and the rest is history.
Oh, okay. So would you, describe your upbringing, as a way that, in a way motivated you into teaching, or, like, was it something that you just chose to do because, that was like a necessity for you too?
I mean, my time at the secondary school and the experiences I had, because I went to a boarding school, created that desire and that passion. My secondary school math teacher played a major role, Mr. Charles Agbeve, and he helped me, he motivated me. I remember there would be times that he will come and wake me up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. and teach me maths, and then I will in turn teach my colleagues. And so that passion to teach and to see someone excel. I was at the point at one time the leader of the Scripture Union Student Choir, and I was also made the chaplaincy prefect and the library prefect, because at the time there were very few people. And so I succeeded in that way, and I found that whenever I taught, I got very satisfied, and the fact that someone was able to do something as a result of my teaching really, really made me very happy. And that's where I started to explore the field of teaching. So then from there on, I went to the University of Cape Coast, where I studied a Bachelor of Arts, Social Sciences. And so I started teaching also my colleagues there, and I excelled. And I mean, that's a passion for teaching, and there's nothing better than teaching for me. And the idea that I can teach and inspire someone to also want to become a teacher is what made me also go into teaching.
Okay. Now, somebody with a passion for teaching, now came into England, Bradford to be precise, and then you actually found yourself to be a city center cleaner. How did you find that? Because obviously, like on your way to England, you thought, oh, okay, I could become somebody, great, which you are now. But then in the process of, actually getting where you are now, you had to, just lower your standards to become a cleaner. In that moment, how was it like? Can you just throw light on that? Because we've got, most of our, people here who've actually settled for where they are, even though they've got so much in them. I'm not downing anybody, but then in your story, or like in your case, you've managed to actually, like navigate, like yourself into where you are now. So, just to motivate somebody, or just to bring restoration to somebody who thinks, it's like I'm fed up. I'm not doing anything more, because at the end of the day, I'm still earning, and I can still do anything that I want to do with my income. So, what would you describe that situation, that period that you were as a city center cleaner? I mean, how would you describe that?
I mean, I believe in, like you started saying, New Year resolutions. I believe in the fact that having goals and having plans in terms of how you want to achieve your goals are very necessary and important in your life. So at the time when I wanted to go into teaching, I had inquired a lot about it. And at the time, I didn't have the necessary documentations as well to study, and actually had explored that area where I could not afford international fees at the time. So yes, I wanted to become a teacher. It was very, very difficult to break into it. Around the Ghanaian community at the time, there were no ones that you could really take inspiration from and talk to or guide you. And I had to do a job. I believe in hard work. I had things I had to do at the time. So for me, as long as I wasn't stealing, I wasn't conniving, but I was working hard, whether it was cleaning, car wash, anything that I could find my heart to do, I did it. And then, whilst at the same time, I was volunteering to explore and get more experience in terms of the teaching in the United Kingdom, because I had no idea what it was. I wanted to see what it was like. So I really was doing that, but at the same time, voluntarily doing some work in the school, in the secondary school, and not getting paid, but I did full-time job there whilst I built my CV. So through that process, I then got married, thank God, and then my documentations and things were facilitated in that sense. So, and yet at the same time, I could not, I wasn't so seen as a home free student. So I had to think of different ways of still pursuing my passion for teaching. And so I had to then resort to what we call now the SKIT program, where you are almost like employed by the school as an unqualified teacher. You are trained by the school, and then you qualify. So that was the route that I took, and that was something that I'm really glad I did.
Okay. The bit that I want you to actually, throw more light, in that period of you being, the city center cleaner, like, was there a time that you felt, like, why am I doing this? Because obviously you see people passing by, making sarcastic comments, especially in our community. And, why? At least you could have done maybe a cleaning job, maybe in an office, or, like in a place where nobody would actually see you. But then you were not too ashamed of what you were doing, because you thought, fine, it was legal. But then sometimes maybe inwardly, it hits you, because we're all human, isn't it? So at that time, share your feelings a little bit, just for viewers too.
I mean, it is very, very difficult and hard, especially because it was a city center that was a litter picker, and cleaning the toilets, cleaning around, and then especially the job started from 4, and many workers finish around 5, so
4 a.m. or 4 p.m.
4 p.m. in the afternoon. So just by 5 or half 5, many of the workers will finish and they'll be going home. So, and it was the central hub of Bradford, so everybody will pass through and they will definitely see you. So it was very hard to take. But what motivated me at the time was the money that we were paying, because they couldn't find people to do the work. So the money was very lucrative, and it was meeting a lot of needs, because I had run into a lot of debt and I needed them being paid. So for me, yes, it was very difficult. At some points, I had to really gather some strength to do it. And of course, when Friday came and you got paid, you were excited, you were happy, and all that shame went away. So through that, I was able to save up, and at some point I was like, I've had enough of this, done that, I need to move on.
So how would you describe, your teaching philosophy? Because now that it's like you've unveiled yourself, you've actually spoken about, who you are now, but then you're still not ashamed of where you started from, even though you still had your ambitions and whatever, but then you lowered your pride to go into, that kind of situation. But then it's like you look back and you think, oh, I've been able to make it. So how would you describe your teaching philosophy?
I would say my teaching philosophy is that where I'm able to create the inquisitiveness in students, where, because I believe that as a teacher, you can't teach everything. As a teacher, your job is to guide and then create that inquisitiveness in the children so they can go and want to do more by themselves. Because the most important way to learn, I believe, is self-taught, where you have something to stand on and then you explore. And of course, inspiring them to know that there is no limits in terms of what they want to achieve. And that's always been my passion.
Okay. You made mention, of, when you actually, before you went into teaching, you said something that, even though you didn't actually like what you were doing, but provided what you were doing was legal and it was meeting your needs. That's what sometimes, like we tend to forget that, it's okay to do any job. Once it's legal, it's safe, and once it's able to meet your needs, like you're able to do it. Because we have a lot of people, especially like most degree holders, who think, oh, why should I do cleaning? Why should I clean? Why should I do certain jobs? But not forgetting that you still have needs to be met, you still have bills to be paid, but today you've made it known that once like your job is able to meet your needs, and once it's legal, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, it doesn't.
So what inspires you? What motivates you? Because obviously, you had other courses in mind, but what motivated you into teaching?
Like I said, my math teacher in secondary school, he showed some extraordinary passion. The charisma that he had and the joy on his face when he was teaching, that was very infectious. And that was something I thought, I want something like that. I want to become like him. I want to be able to create that same passion, stir up that same desire in the hearts of children, and for them to want to learn, not just maths, but of course, anything I'm given opportunity to teach and pass on. It's just the idea of showing that excitement and the fact that you see the end result in the long run. And that is the joy. That's the thing that made me go into teaching. That's what drives me anytime I wake up. And the fact that the light bulb moments, especially in maths, when it comes like that, the joy on the face and the excitement is on the ending.
Okay, what was the hardest, challenge that you faced to get to where you are now?
That's interesting. I told you I went into the SKIT program, or the graduate teacher teaching program at the time. And for you to be given an opportunity to be trained as an unqualified teacher, because you're going to be taking salary and you won't pay school fees, you needed to be having some experience, and you needed to be very outstanding. I had the experience, the voluntary teaching that I did for 6 months. I had also been in different settings in different secondary schools and enriched my CV. But then I made applications on ending, about 20 applications I could count. And every time there's the mailman came through, I was excited.
20 applications?
Yes, because I kept being turned down. So every time the first sentence you read is unfortunately, and that can really break you. And you begin to wonder, am I really in the right path? Am I really pursuing that? That's what I was talking about, having your goals and your resolutions, because you've got to keep focused. And so during those times, I was also married. I had to pay bills. I had to live and act like a husband and make sure bills are paid. So it was very difficult. So I had to be doing the odd jobs here and there whilst I kept on applying. I remember there was one interview I went, they didn't even give me the chance to even speak. As soon as they saw me, they just said they can't give me the job. So the letters kept coming, but there was a 21st letter that just came to say, fortunately. So all of them was unfortunately, and then that fortunate letter was the one that opened the door. And so sometimes doors might be shut in your face, the windows might be closed, and you might think that's the end of it. Just don't give up. As long as you know this is where you want to go to, keep knocking on the door, keep pushing. That 21st letter will definitely come through.
That 21st letter. I like that one. That 21st letter. So, moreover, what was the key element that made you to be where you are now?
Passion, hard work, unending joy, no matter the circumstance. Just be happy about the job. Show the employers that you really love what you're doing. Let the kids know you enjoy what you're doing. You are very infectious when you show love for the things you do. And that is really what has pushed me. Never complaining and always doing the right thing at the right time and being very organized, I would say, especially in teaching.
So in terms of your, different cultural backgrounds, and now you find yourself teaching in a pure English school, would you just, actually tell, our viewers, the cultural shock and also the difference between how we were actually taught and how things are actually done here? Did you find any difficulty in trying to adjust?
When I was doing the voluntary teaching, you had the opportunity to observe a lot, and I was very pleased and glad I did that because I had that cultural shock moment during the voluntary time. So there were instances where the teacher doesn't talk much, and I was thinking, okay, where I come from, the teacher talks, and then you have to then listen and listen and listen and listen. Here, the teacher sets time for themselves, about 5-10 minutes, they finish talking. The rest of the time, the children are doing the work, and I'm thinking, how would they understand that? And you had what we call the behavior policy. That was something I never knew. I didn't understand that. I was like, behavior policy. Where I come from, I put the cane on the table. The kids know there's a behavior policy. We don't need to explain it to anyone. So you had to understand behavior policy and manage behavior. So that's another thing. You don't deal with behavior, you manage it. So it's about processes involved, and you've got to be trained to learn how to manage children behavior. And that was one of the shocks as well. So I had quite a few culture shocks in terms of even the pronunciations of words. And I used to say opsit, and the kids would be laughing. And I would say,
what's opsit?
So opsit, what's opsit? And then they were like, did you say opsi? I was like, opposite. And like, yeah, that's what you should say. Say opposite, don't say opsit. So, and one of the things with the culture bit is where you humble yourself enough to say, teach me. It's their language. And the thing with the UK is that every area is different. We have the mannerisms, we have the jargons, we have the language. Even though they all speak English, there are certain things that you can't say in certain areas or might not be well understood in certain areas. So you've got to always pick from the culture and pick from the case what is in vogue, what kind of language, what does that mean, and talk a lot with your colleagues to learn. I mean, having that open mindset to learn is very important.
Talking of the, like pronunciations, today my daughter still laughs at me. Like when I pronounce certain words, oh, Mom, we don't say this. That's not how we pronounce this word. This is how we say it. But I'm so humble enough to learn from them because obviously that's their language, isn't it?
Exactly.
And we are here. So obviously, you just have to learn. So what advice would you give to somebody who is in your situation, where you were, and who intends to be where you are now?
I would say, first of all, have a plan. Make sure your plan has many goals. Make sure they are achievable. Don't set way high targets that you can't achieve. Make sure you can do what you can through a process, and ask for help, ask for advice. We are all not living on islands, and get help and push yourself and be open-minded that of course the no's will come, but don't let the no's break you down. Look forward to your 21st letter. That would say fortunately.
I like that bit, the 21st letter. Well, viewers, we've all listened to Mr. Ninson's journey or life so far, and I'm really, humbled. For him to share his life story. Well, what would you tell a 19-year-old boy, 24-year-old boy, or even a 35-year-old boy, or even a girl who thinks, oh, okay, I've not been able to achieve any degree, or even if I have, I don't see myself, doing anything meaningful with my life. What kind of motivation would you give to that person? Or let's say if somebody who's been out of prison who thinks, oh, my life, I don't have any meaning to my life. Now, what kind of advice would you give to that person?
I would tell the person, don't stop dreaming. You can never stop dreaming. It's not too late to start dreaming. You can dream big, dream to the best of your ability, and push yourself. Ask for help. There's always help. There are always opportunities. The waters of a river will always flow, and believe in what you are called to do and in your passion.
Well, viewers, we're almost at the end of this program, and my little advice to everyone is life without struggle is life without success. We've all listened to Mr. Ninson's life story, and I'm so motivated, and I hope you've been motivated too. So if you think you've come to the end of your life, there's still hope for the future. And remember, in 2021, dare to be somebody that nobody thought you could be. Thanks for watching. See you same time. Bye.